Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the Extra Mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now, your host, Jackson Mummy, owner of the Celebration Bar Review.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to episode 120 of the Extra Mile podcast. This is Jackson. I'm really honored that you're taking some time to spend with us today and to find out more about the bar exam and things that are going on. And today we've got a really terrific interview with a young lady who came from Jamaica, not Jamaica, Queens, but Jamaica, to New York to sit for the New York bar exam, the UBE, in July 2016. And Carla passed on her first try, and she ended up with a score in the top 10% of all bar takers. It's an extraordinary story, and she is just a delight to talk to. You're going to love listening to her voice. It's just beautiful, and she's a beautiful person, and I think you're going to find a lot to take out of this interview with Carla today. And before we jump into that, let me just update you on what's going on in the bar exam world. We've now gotten results in from almost every jurisdiction in the country. We're waiting on California results, and those should come out shortly after this episode releases. So we'll update you when those results are out. In general, the trend across the country has been a continuation of the slight downward dip from previous years, and so we know that the exam remains very difficult. My expectation is that California results will be pretty low, maybe the lowest in the country. That's just based on historical trends. So we'll see what happens, but certainly wish the best to all of you waiting for your California results. Now, whether you're waiting for results or you got your results, or maybe you're just a first-time taker, I want to invite all of you to join me this Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for a special live presentation of how to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. This is a look at the 4 steps to passing the bar, and it's been a really successful course that literally thousands of people have gone through, including today's interview guest, Carla. So I really encourage you to join us. It's totally free, but you do need to register, and you can do that in one of a couple of ways. You can go to our webpage at celebrationbarreview.com, and on the page you'll see a button to claim your spot. Go ahead and do that. Or if you prefer, you can text your registration in, texting the phrase next bar exam to the number 33444. Again, that's the phrase next bar exam to the number 33444, and we'll get you registered that way. Now, if Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, which would be 12 noon Pacific, doesn't work on your schedule, if you go to our front page, celebrationbarreview.com, you'll also see a button to select the on-demand version of the webinar. Same content, and love to have you check that out if you can't make it on Thursday. But either way, hope you'll find out what those 4 steps are to passing the bar. They're important, they're actionable, and I think they can make a real difference for you. Well, I don't want to wait any longer. I want to just jump into today's interview because it's a great one. So here's a new member of the New York bar and our great friend, Carla Brydson. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Students. I don't actually know what episode we're up to. I think it's like 27, maybe 28. But I'm so excited today because I have another of my really all-time favorite students. I mean, someone who I love, who was great and who has this incredible story that I just want to jump right into. And so I'll stop talking. Welcome to Carla Brydson, the newest member of the New York bar. Hi, Carla.
Hi, Mr. Mummy. Nice. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Now, where are you today? Where are we talking?
I am in Kingston, Jamaica. I'm home.
Yeah. So, folks, you catch the accent, right? I mean, can you not love talking to somebody like this all day and with this smile? So, Carla, you must be like on cloud 9 getting these results.
I'm on cloud 100.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to talk about the story and how you came to us and going through. You were a first-time bar taker.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and you passed. And by the way, the passing rate for foreign trained attorneys on the New York bar exam, you probably know this, was 37% in July.
I saw that this morning.
Yeah. So what does that make? What do you think when you see that number?
I felt it's inexplicable. I cannot describe it. I am honored I'm lost for words.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
lost.
okay. All right. Well, we'll see if we can tease a few words out of you about it. So, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to be in a position to sit for the New York, the UBE exam in July?
All right, sure. Like I said, I'm from Jamaica. It's a little bit different in Jamaica because usually they tend to, we can be called to the Jamaican bar quite early. You can actually be, you can actually enter law school from high school. That's what I did. I went to law school at age 21.
Wow.
By age 24, I was practicing law. I've been practicing law for the past 7 years. Um, that's all I know how to do. It's my only profession in life.
Yeah.
Um, at the time when I was in law school in Jamaica, my family migrated to the United States. I stayed back because I wanted to finish school and I actually wanted to practice a little bit. And I did that. I did about 6 years of that. Um, After that, I got a very attractive offer in the Turks and Caicos Islands. That was last year. Um, I was there for 3 months. It wasn't such a wonderful experience. So I decided to leave and said, you know what, let me just try out for the bar. I've
So
always
you actually moved to New York then, right?
decided. I moved to New York on the 1st of December, 2015. And then I said, you know what, if I'm going to move here, I need to practice as an attorney. So I said, let me look for something. I want something that, I will get one-on-one help. Mr. Mommy will tell you all about me. I am very stubborn. We fought a lot, but here I am on the victorious end of it. So
Yeah. We didn't actually fight so much as, well, I pulled and Carla pulled back. So there you go. All right. So now you actually came to me through a mutual friend, somebody that you met looking for all of this stuff. A friend of ours, Wayne Marsh, who was a former student of mine, foreign trained attorney, who wrote me this note, as Wayne is typically prone to do. And Wayne said, here's my friend Carla, and I want you to treat her as if she's my sister. But there's no pressure, right? But really, make sure that it's all good. So I'm like, oh man, this is going to be, okay, right? So you came to me and we started working. You took our personal mentored course, right? And so you and I were talking and working.
yes, I
So tell the folks that are watching and listening what it was like as a foreign trained attorney. You've just come to New York. It's December. You're getting ready for the July exam. What was your study process like? What were you doing?
Okay. Firstly, I really didn't know how to dive in. First off, I didn't even know what the MEE stood for, what the MBE stood for. It was actually when I logged on to Celebration Bar Review and I was going through one of the seminars that you had, that you broke it down for me. You were basically my roadmap in terms of studying. You had scheduled for us 3 to 4 hours at first when you started out. What I liked about your course is that you didn't really emphasize on memorization, knowing the law word for word. You were really against us reading forever and writing forever, which I was always guilty of. But trust me, you took it step by step. At the end of the day, I remember it was like about 3 weeks before the exam, and I was doing corporations, and everything started coming together. When I was doing the practice, the multiple choice, all of those questions came together. I mean, every time I was doing one, it's like the answers just came to me. Trust me, I am still lost for words.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
When you first started, I remember when you first started writing essays, your first couple of essays, do you remember those?
Yes, I did. I do.
Yeah. How would you characterize those?
Well, the first one was a disaster.
Yeah, that was a good word.
It was. And you said, you know what, this is pretty typical of a foreign trained attorney. It's not the worst of it.
Right.
It's clear that you knew the law, but you just need to be structured in what you are saying, and you hammered that in, and you led me through all the mess I used to spit out words on paper. You just cut it down to what is really, really necessary.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things was watching your writing evolve, Carla, from sort of just trying to put everything on the paper to this very organized, structured writing that was very going down just as it needed to and working your way through and getting more comfortable as you were working and writing. At the same time, you were also working on the multi-state, and I would say about halfway through your studies, you and I had a conversation, one of our study conferences, and you said, it seems to be just kind of clicking. I'm just intuitively responding to the questions. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes, I do. And it's so funny. I was really struggling at that time. I was doing the properties part of it, and I was really struggling with rule against perpetuities. That was what it was. And I was just online on the Extra Mile Facebook thing, and I saw one of your videos that spoke about intuition. Mm-hmm. You said it could get our marks up by 15%. And I'm like, okay, let me look at it. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know what? Just trust yourself. The first answer, read the question slowly, read the answer slowly, and the first answer that comes up in your head, go with it. And I said, okay, let me try it. And I tried it, and I got 28 out of 30. I was shocked. I never turned back from that technique. It worked. It even worked.
Yeah. And you want to tell our audience, I know you're modest, but I'm going to ask you to tell everybody, what was your multi-state score on the exam?
It was 151.9.
Yeah, folks, 152, which puts Carla in, I believe, the top 2 or 3% in the country. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, really. That's where it puts you. Okay. So, folks, foreign-trained attorney, first-time taker from Jamaica, and she only scored in the top 2 or 3% of the multi-state. So, not bad, right? For the people that say, oh, gotta memorize the rules, gotta know all the elements, gotta have all the mnemonics, I present Exhibit A, Carla Brydson. You actually don't. So that's pretty cool, huh?
What would I say to them?
Yeah, what would you say to them?
Oh my God, you don't have to do that. Listen to Mr. Mummy. He said to me in one of our very first talks, I'm your sensei, trust me. Mm. And he says, you don't need to memorize. I didn't memorize. You don't need to.
Yeah.
At all.
And that was a real change for you from the way you had learned before in your legal training, right?
Yes, it was, because at our law school, the motto was you read for a degree, and we read and we memorized. That's how I knew how to really pass an exam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was a big switch. So here you are studying for a prolonged period of time. Were you working also, or were you just studying?
Yes, in fact, I was doing some seasonal jobs. Like I said, I barely had any experience outside of the legal field. Mm-hmm. And of course, it was very difficult picking up anything inside of the legal field. Right. So I expanded my search. Mm-hmm. I was working as a tax processing specialist at one of the tax firms in New York City. Mm-hmm. That was for 2 months. That was for between February to April. During that time, I did very little work. Mm-hmm. Mr. Mummy picked it up. And I explained to him that, I was doing a little seasonal thing. And right after that, he said, well, okay, you're finished filing the taxes. Time to hit the road again. Right. And I was back on the horse. Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah, you were very disciplined in your studies, though. I mean, you really did. You were regular in terms of getting the work done, getting it submitted. And even though sometimes in our conversations, because the work needed a lot of work, and it was not easy for you to do that, but you were always there. I mean, you were like, okay, give it to me. Tell me what we got to do. What does this take? What's going to happen? Talk a little bit about what it felt like in the last, say, 3 or 4 weeks before the exam. You're getting ready for the July test. What's kind of happening for you at that point? How are your studies going? What's going on?
I was relaxed. I was much more calm, focused. By that time, I was winding down in the substantive work. But you were there behind me. So along the way, I was saying, "Sir, am I going too slow? I'm now at secure transactions. Is everything okay?" You're telling me, yes, keep at it. So I didn't feel bogged down at all. I didn't feel overwhelmed. I know I was just really following you. It was as though I had my blinders on and you were leading me.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Yeah. So you took the exam in what city? Did they send you to Buffalo or Albany or?
Oh, I did it in the city. Jarvis, the Jarvis
Oh,
Center.
you were able to do it in Manhattan. That's right, because you were living in Manhattan. Oh, that was cool. Okay. So what was that like in the Javits Center, taking the
Oh,
exam?
well, I remember putting it in my GPS, walking through the city. Then I saw everybody with their little laptops under their arms, heading there. And I don't think I've seen so many persons in one room, one examination center before. That was the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
It was huge. And then when we went into the room, I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? What?
Yeah.
I mean, I was ready. I was curious and I was ready to go. I was.
Mm-hmm. So the first day of the exam is the MPTs and the MEEs, the essay questions. And you had a rough day the first day, right?
Yes, I did.
What happened?
I did not.
Before you tell us this story, let me just preface for just 1 minute to say to folks, because sometimes I think people think that this is all a setup and everybody's had really easy time and it all went great and everything was perfect, right? Everybody's kind of got that in mind. But what you're about to hear is real life. This is really what happens. So now, what happened on day one?
Well, unfortunately, at that time, I did not get to complete the second MPT paper, nor did I get to finish the sixth essay. That was the civil procedures essay.
That's right.
I didn't get to finish that either. So I was devastated. I remember heading back to the hotel and calling Mr. Mummy, emailing him, telling him I need to speak to him now. And I remember your advice to me, listen, this is it, you're an attorney. And if you can't deal with it, leave. And I'm like, no, I'm in this for the long. So, you know what?
Okay, so this is tough love, folks. So sometimes I do this. I'm actually it's probably what, if you Google me, it probably says he's really blunt. But what was going on from my standpoint at that moment was that Carla, I knew, had worked really, really hard. I also knew that Carla was incredibly bright and talented. I'd seen a lot of her work. I knew that a challenge for her, like virtually every foreign trained attorney, was going to be the writing day. But I also knew that her approach, that your approach, Carla, to the multi-state, to the intuitive approach of reading the questions carefully and the answer choices carefully, but then making an instant decision, was working incredibly well. And that you would be able, in my view, to offset whatever the downside was of day one if you just kept your head in the game on day two for the multi-state. Unfortunately, when someone's having a panic attack, which is kind of the way it felt at that moment, it was a bit of a panic attack. And sometimes in order to get someone's attention, you just have to be very stern and get them refocused. So I was pretty tough on you that night in terms of just saying, you got to pull it together and, either quit, go home, but if you're going to stay, then stay and do it. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I hope she stays because she's got the ability to do this. So tell everybody what happened. We finished the phone call. Now what happens? What's life like in the hotel room?
Well, I said, you know what? He's right. And throughout my studies, I believe that the MBE was actually the strongest point for me. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm going to give this my best shot. I am going to complete the 200 questions in the 3-hour time period.
Yeah.
But then another thing happened to me in the exams. There was no clocks in the exam, so I had no watch. So there was a very nice proctor that was there that loaned me her watch, and I got through the exam on time. I didn't freak out. I did what I had to do under that pressure, and I came out triumphant.
Yeah. And so, by the way, your overall score was a 291. You need 266 to pass. So it's not like you just squeaked through, okay? So that day one, as bad as it felt, there must have been some good stuff that happened as well, because you don't just pull it all on the multi-state. So,
Well, I mean, to be honest, when I look back, I remember even after that you had videos to encourage us. What do you need to do while waiting for the results?
Right.
And I remember you said these things will happen. Sometimes you'll go in and you'll not finish a question. It doesn't mean that you automatically fail. And I said, well, hold up. I know I did well on the MBE, and I know I did well on the rest of the questions. So I really was anxious to see the result.
Yeah. So you're waiting like everybody else, and then New York has the October surprise, we call it. You don't know when the results are coming. They just show up in your email box, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so what was that like?
I was dying. I thought that it was going to come out in October. I had to come back to Jamaica to do some business. I didn't know if I was coming back with books or if I was coming back to celebrate, and the time was drawing closer. And I remember emailing you and I'm saying, Mr. Mummy, by this time it was late October.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, sir, I need to know, what do I need to do? And you're like, you know what? Study what you want to study then. We are going to wait until the results come out. And that kind of calmed me down. And I came here the Thursday, and by the Friday it was out, and I'm celebrating.
Yeah. How cool was that? So what was it like when you got to see the results? I mean, you get the email.
Well, at that time, New York was on daylight saving time.
Yeah.
So I was, since October, I was up every midnight. I was looking at it.
She's not exaggerating, folks. I know this to be true. Okay, yeah.
I was refreshing, so I didn't see anything. So now I was in Jamaica, and the internet access here after the hurricane wasn't that strong. So I remember coming home that Thursday, and I was like, oh my God, I need to check my email. It was like about 11:30 our time, 12:30 New York time.
Yeah, 12:30 in the
morning.
morning.
I thought, it's out. And I just felt myself go hit it. I didn't even hesitate. I just hit on it, hit the link, and I saw the letter, and it said, passed, not certified. And I'm like, what do they mean by that? And then the second line said, like, congratulations. I'm like, what? I passed? Oh my God. It was an experience. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. And I have to thank Celebration Bar Review for that. I mean, I've seen products being advertised on TV, satisfaction guaranteed, pass guaranteed. I am a living testament of this. This thing really works. Pass guaranteed.
Well, you really worked. And so I'm glad we could be part of that journey. But I mean, this is the fun part. Absolutely. And I can remember talking to you as you were studying and saying, I just want you to picture what it'll be like when you get to tell your story on this interview today. So I know you had that visualized in your mind.
Yes.
And what a great thing when that thing that you visualized suddenly happens for you. Well, so what happens now? Do you come back to New York? Are you going to practice in New York?
Actually here on visit.
Yeah.
I am back in New York in a month. I actually have an offer on the table already as an associate, pending my being admitted to the bar already.
Yeah.
So fantastic stuff is happening.
You're going to be such a great attorney in New York. I mean, you're already a great attorney in Jamaica, but you're going to be so good. And, I've said this in other places to other people, but we need more people like you, Carla, in the bar. I mean, we don't need more guys like me, but we need more people like you. And, I think that it's such a testimony to your perseverance and your determination. I remember some times when you and I were talking, and it was cold in New York, and you were all bundled up, and a Jamaican person in New York City in the winter. I mean, it's actually almost funny, in a kind of a sad way. But I could see that you were just not going to let anything get in your way. You said blinders, and that's really what you had. You had blinders, and you were just doing exactly what you needed to do. And, that was kind of, as I go back to our friend Wayne, when he took the bar, it was very much the way he did it as well. And I think that when you consider the odds, a 37% pass rate, and you end up in the top 2 or 3%. You don't just squeak through. You could be admitted in any UBE jurisdiction that would accept a foreign trained attorney. I mean, that score is good enough to get you in anywhere in the country on the pure number score. And you're a first-time taker. I mean, all of those things are fabulous testimonies to your capability and your ability. And it really points out that, you're the sort of person who ought to be practicing law and ought to be a member of the New York Bar. So congratulations. I mean, I cannot be happier than I am to see you and to see that 100,000 megawatt smile of yours. Because I saw some tears, folks. I mean, one or two. And to get the smile is way better, trust me. There are a lot of foreign trained attorneys who sit for this New York exam, the UBE exam, and they often come to us and ask, what they should be doing. But I'd like to put that question out to you. What advice would you give someone who's now a foreign trained attorney and they're thinking about taking the bar in New York?
Well, I would say that you're in luck for watching this video today.
Yeah.
I think that you should log on to Celebration Bar Review. I wouldn't go with any other review. Celebration Bar Review gives you the one-on-one support that you will need. And you're talking to a real person. And trust me, the techniques work.
Yeah.
They work. So
well,
you don't need to look any further.
Yeah, that's very kind of you. Well, I'm so excited for you, and I so much appreciate you sharing your story and and it was tough. I mean, and I just want our audience to know this. It was tough. This was not an easy cruise all the way through. Carla really worked hard. She had moments of great frustration, and then it started to come together. And then there was the moment on the first day of the bar that was so tough. And yet you pulled it together. You sucked it up and you went back in and you did it. And you didn't just kind of do it. You really did it. And, I think so often we get easily discouraged in life by so many things. There's so many hard things. And I love when we have a story like yours, Carla, because it really shows what the human spirit is capable of. I think I teased you once or twice about your sister, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, Carla would sit in your sister's house, was it? Or family's house? Yeah, and there were all these pictures on the wall behind her of this really successful, happy young woman. But it wasn't Carla; it was her sister. And I'd say, well, look, if your sister can do all this stuff, and she's got all the awards and the trophies and the diplomas and all that, right? It was like the shrine to Carla's sister. I said, well, you can do all that too, right? And it was kind of getting that into your head. And so I hope on that wall there will be a picture of you being sworn in and a member of the New York Bar and all that.
Very soon, Mr. Bowley.
Yeah, I look forward to that picture. So I just want to congratulate you again. I want to thank you and wish you the very best in your time back when you get back to New York and in practicing. I think wherever you're working, they will be very, very lucky to have you with them. And I look for great things to happen in your legal career. I think you're going to be a real star. So it was really a pleasure to be able to work with you. And thanks for letting me share this part of the journey. It's just been an honor.
It was my honor and my pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Mommy, for having me.
All right. Hey, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carla. And we'll see you again on our next episode. And that's it for today. Bye-bye. Well, that's our episode for today. Thanks so much for joining me and for being part of the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. Now, if you'd like to catch up on prior episodes or check out the show notes, you can do that by going to our webpage at celebrationbarreview.com. Click on the link at the top of the page for podcasts, and there you'll find all of our previous episodes as well as the show notes. You can also subscribe to the podcast from that site, or you can go to iTunes and subscribe there. Just type in the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers, and you can subscribe and be part of the podcast series. And we would love to have you do that. While you're on the iTunes site, we would also really appreciate you giving us a quick, honest rating and review. That feedback is really useful to me as I prepare these episodes. It only takes about 30 seconds, so I hope you'll do that. Just type in the name of the podcast and give us your rating and review. Again, if you've got any questions or you'd like to know anything else about Celebration Bar Review or the courses that we offer, visit our website, or I invite you to contact us. My email is jackson@celebrationbarreview.com, and I look forward to hearing from you and to seeing you along the extra mile very shortly. See you on the pass list. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at www.celebrationbarreview.com.